I think the only thing more spooky than my backdrop is my picks from last week. I'm like 4-10. Now, I did know that was a possibility, but I didn't actually think I was gonna do that bad. Like, good gosh. I'm gonna have a steep mountain to climb if I want to make my way back into this thing. Anyway, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video, and welcome to my week 3 reactions. I already know, because I get this question every single week, people are gonna be asking, why don't I do these videos on Tuesday? And to answer your question, it's because I have NFL therapy on Tuesdays, and I don't have the time for this. So that's why I don't do reactions on Tuesday. Also, before we hop into today's video, we got a couple of plugs as always, so don't forget to use code Wyatt's World on G Fuel or Prize Picks, where you can save yourself a discount on any G Fuel products, or guarantee yourself to win a free $50 with your first $5 lineup after using code Wyatt's World at sign up on Prize Picks. However, that's all we got for plugs. That's all we got for yapping. Now let's get into my week 3 NFL reactions. That rhymed a little bit too well. Okay, so kicking off with everybody's favorite game of the week, we had Thursday Night Football, and it was the Jets beating the daylights out of the Patriots. New England, I don't really got much to say on you guys here. It would have been really funny if Drake May would have came in and thrown the first touchdown out of any quarterback in this class, because he still had the chance to do it, but he didn't have the offense there, dude. You guys were terrible. Outside of DeMario Douglas, he's the only one that had a respectable day. Like, the offense was garbage. Defense, I actually don't think played that bad of a game. I think they just got gassed out after about a quarter and a half. And that's mainly due to 40-year-old Aaron Rodgers proving to everybody that he's still got it. You know, it was a slow start for Aaron Rodgers the first 2 weeks, but now week 3 against the Patriots, he comes out completing 77% of his passes for 281 yards and 2 touchdowns. We got to see Rodgers link up with Lazard and Garrett Wilson for scores. We got to see him link up with Tyler Conklin enough to lead the team in receiving. In New York, don't think I'm leaving out your run game either, because I've seen Braylon Allen. You guys might just have the best 1-2 punch combo in the league. New York's defense was also dominant, getting 7 sacks on the day, where one of them, I will note, was Chuck Clark, who just had a very good game in general, and I'm happy to see that because this guy missed his entire year last year after tearing his ACL in practice. So good game, New York, and you guys are rolling. Next up, we have the Giants beating the Browns, and yeah, this game's all about New York, really. First off, big shout out to Danny, dude. He played a great game, 24 for 34, 236, 2 touchdowns. I'm not saying this will happen, but there's a chance Malik Neighbors might just save this guy's career. I mean, the guy went crazy. He flat out just is crazy. 8 for 78, 2 touchdowns, mossing DBs, elite body control. Also, Wan'Dale Robinson had a good game, let alone just having a pretty good year. Is this going to be the year we actually get to see him do something? Top of that, New York's defense had 8 sacks on Deshaun Watson, made him fumble the ball twice. And I'm also not going to ignore Devin Single-McCringle-Terry icing the game away and playing smart football at the end, so shout out to him. As far as Cleveland goes, yeah, they were a fart. Deshaun Watson stunk outside of the 2 throws he had to Amari Cooper for scores. The run game absolutely needs Nick Chubb, and I'm not sure what's going on with Myles Garrett, but apparently he's dealing with a bit of a foot injury right now too. It's still early, Cleveland, but if you guys don't see some dramatic improvement in offense like next week, you might need to sound the alarm. Moving on, we have Philly beating the Saints, more like neutralizing the Saints, I should say. This was a crazy game. So looking at the Eagles first, you know, their offense was basically carried by Saquon, who had 17 carries for 150 yards and 2 touchdowns. However, Jalen Hurts, outside of his kind of ugly pick in the end zone, actually played a pretty decent game, finding Dallas Goedert 10 times for 170 yards and linking up with Devontae Smith really well before his concussion took him out of the game. Now, it's the Philly defense that I really want to compliment. And I know they don't have a lot of sacks, they don't have a lot of picks or anything, but it's how physical they played, dude. Rashid Shaheed, he got targeted in the end zone 2 or 3 times. He didn't log a fucking catch all day. Alvin Kamara, he didn't do shit. Like, I know Olave might have burned him once or twice, but like, seriously, these guys played a dominant physical game of football. They neutralized the New Orleans Saints, the best scoring offense in the league right now. Now, looking at the Saints, Carr, you know, simmered down, 142, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Kamara, 26 carries, but only 87 yards, 0 touchdowns. As far as receiving goes, like I said, Olave, he got the touchdown. He might have burned the Eagles once or twice, but nobody else really did anything. And again, look at Rashid Shaheed down here, literally a goose egg. It's unfortunate for the Saints defense too, because they actually played a great game and then kind of lost it for the Saints at the end when Saquon just ran them over. Paulson had 10 tackles, Tyron had a great game. There was 3.5 sacks between Carl Granderson and Brian Breezy. It's just they were literally out of gas at the end and they shut down. Now we got the Vikings blowing out the Texans. The Vikings legitimately might be the best team in the NFC. This is insane, dude. Like, this is the one prediction I was happy I got right, but I can't believe by how badly they kicked their ass. Minnesota looking at Sam Darnold. 4 touchdowns on the day, 181 yards, but 4 fucking touchdowns. Aaron Jones, 19 carries for 102 yards. Jefferson with the receiving touchdown. Aaron Jones with the receiving touchdown. Jalen Naylor with the receiving touchdown. Johnny Moont with the receiving touchdown. Defense coming up with 5 sacks, where 3 of them came from Jonathan Grenard. Let's talk about a revenge game, huh? And the best part about it is we did this without Ivan Pace, Dallas Turner, or offensively, we did not have Jordan Addison either. Now looking at the Texans, CJ Stroud, 1 touchdown, 2 picks, 215 yards. Cam Akers, he was shut down. Stephon Diggs actually kind of did get some revenge, 10 for 94, but didn't score. Nico Collins had a good game. Tank Dell actually had a decent game. Cam Akers got the solo reception touchdown on the day. And even though the defense was able to sack Sam Darnold 4 times and Danielle Hunter tried to kill him, they couldn't come up with solutions to stop Kevin O'Connell, and their offense, outside of one drive, wasn't able to do shit on Brian Flores. This was a very much needed Houston humbling, and I genuinely believe at this point in time, it's hard to argue that the Vikings are not contending to be the best team in the NFC. All right, now we got the Broncos beating the hell out of the Buccaneers. This was not only a pure red zone game, but this was a pure, I had to double check the app every time I saw it on red zone because I didn't believe what I was seeing game. Like looking at Denver here, Bo Nix, 216, still hasn't thrown a touchdown, but didn't throw a pick this week. Tyler Batty led the team in rushing, although Bo Nix and Jaleel McLaughlin are the ones who came up with the touchdowns. Also, Javonte Williams, I hate to say it, but he is just cooked. Receiving was led by Cortland Sutton, and their defense, you can say, had a pretty fun time sacking Baker Mayfield 7 times and picking him off once. Oh, also, how can we ignore Will Lutz kicking 14 points as well? Jeez. Looking at Tampa now, Baker, 163, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Bucky Irving took over rushing again, 9 for 70, while Rachaad White only had 6 for 17. Receiving was actually kind of neutralized. The only thing I actually got to see out of this was Chris Godwin's great touchdown grab, but other than that, it looks like it was led by Cade Otton with 47 yards. Well, not led, but he was second behind Godwin, who had 53, and Mike Evans only had 2 receptions for 17. Also, gotta admit, it's a little alarming to see your defense surrender 350 yards of offense to a Bo Nix-led Broncos. But I still think your biggest issue this week was your protection for Baker Mayfield. He can't be getting thrown around that fucking much. Now moving on, we have the Packers beating the Titans, and I can't do this anymore. Again, hats off to them, hats off to Matt LaFleur. Wonderfully coached game, wonderfully played game by Malik Willis. Way to get your revenge that you even said you didn't care to really get. If anything, honestly, I think this is proving that coaching matters. Malik Willis, since going to Green Bay, has been a completely different passing quarterback. His running's always been good, but he's throwing the ball so much better now. Green Bay also got to see a little bit of an emerging star here with Emmanuel Wilson, having 12 carries for 50 yards, as well as 2 receptions for 35 yards and a touchdown. And the Green Bay defense ended their day with 2 interceptions and 8 sacks, which, by the way, both of their interceptions again came from Jair and McKinney, the terrible twosome. And I don't call them that because they're bad. I call it that because throwing into them is fucking terrible. Looking at Tennessee now, Will Levis, man, I genuinely don't know what to fucking do with him. He looks like an extremely poor man's Brett Favre, and I mean extremely poor man's. Like, sometimes he'll go out there and make a good drive happen. He'll make a couple good throws, and he will follow it up with just the most brain-dead fucking turnovers. Like, it's so frustrating. I wouldn't be shocked if Mason gets a start next week. Rushing for Tennessee was pathetically bad. Receiving was actually led by D-Hop, who had 6 for 73 and a score. And the Titans defense, honestly, after the first quarter, kind of did crack down. They had 3 sacks out of the day, 2 coming from Kenneth Murray. But they can't be responsible for their quarterback just willingly giving the fucking ball away. All right, now moving on, we have the Bears losing to the Colts, even though regardless of the outcome, I feel like the Bears won this game. Caleb Williams had 363 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. If I read right, that's the highest passing game so far this year. Unless somebody beat that yesterday, which I guess we'll find out. Running game for Chicago is the problem right now. They don't have one. It's absolutely horrible. And DeAndre Swift flat out just sucks. Sorry to say it. But the receiving game blowing up here is what mattered the most. Odunze, 6 for 112, 1 touchdown. Komet, 10 for 97 and a score. DJ Moore, 8 for 78, even though the Hail Mary kind of, inflated it. Still a good thing to see. There was also a sack coming from Montez Sweat and a pair of interceptions coming from Tremaine Edmonds and Jalen Johnson. It's obviously unfortunate that Chicago, didn't pull ahead, and it took them so late to get things going on offense, but this game, they can actually take something out of it. They know their offense can work. Looking at the Colts now, I'm sorry, Anthony Richardson, ass. His pick in the end zone, why would you throw that? Good traits, but overall, ass. Jonathan Taylor, 20 23 carries for 110, 2 touchdowns. He's back. Trace Sermon actually had a rushing touchdown. Receiving, what can you expect them to do when you have a quarterback who couldn't hit water if he fell out of a fucking boat? And defensively, Indy came up with 4 sacks and 2 interceptions on Caleb Williams, both picks coming from Jalen Jones. Like I said, Indy, I know you won this game, and I'm happy you got that win, but I just don't think you guys have as much to write home about here as Chicago does. Like I said, Chicago, they know their offense can work. Your guys' offense right now is quite literally a running back. Now we got the Chargers losing to the Steelers, and sadly, I didn't get to see much of this game at all. It's a game I was interested in, and a game I'm very interested in now because I just have a hard time believing Harbs actually got manhandled like this. So I know Justin Herbert did play. I know he threw a touchdown to Quentin Johnston, and I also know he got hurt where Taylor Heineke had to come in. If you look at the rushing for the Chargers, J.K. Dobbins only had 2.9 yards a carry. That's like historically bad for him. And even though the defense actually played a pretty good game, they just melted down in the fourth quarter, which happens to be a pretty popular trend this week. Checking out the Steelers now, Fields looked clean. 25-32, 245, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Run game appeared to be pretty limited outside of Justin Fields' rushing touchdown. And receiving was actually led by Kelvin Austin III, and that's the one guy I kept seeing on Red Zone. Might owe the Steeler fans an apology because they were telling me about him all offseason and I wasn't listening. He didn't look bad. You could also imagine Steelers defense came up with 5 sacks, and I'm not sure which one was the one that injured Herbert, but whoever's responsible for it should be behind bars. Congratulations, Pittsburgh, you're 3-0. Now moving on, we have the Dolphins getting blown to bits by the Seahawks. Didn't see much of this game at all outside of DK Metcalf's huge touchdown and the fact that Seattle's defense absolutely massacred Miami. Looks like Geno finished the day 289, 1 touchdown, 2 picks. Zach Charbonnet had 91 yards for 2 touchdowns on the ground. DK obviously had his massive touchdown. Noah Fant had a productive day, 6 for 60. And here's the defense that I was talking about, which sacked Skylar Thompson a casual 6 times. Didn't someone else come in the game? Oh yeah, Tim Boyle had to come in. 7 for 13. Woo! Yeah, there's nothing to talk about for Miami. They didn't do anything. A-Chain couldn't do anything. Tyreek had 3 catches for 40 yards on the day. Defense might have gotten a couple picks, but their offense couldn't generate anything with it. And I don't think their offense is going to be able to generate anything until they get someone who can effectively throw the fucking ball. Like, this shit looks absolutely miserable, bro. That'll bring us to the Panthers beating the hell out of the Raiders, and I fear to say it, but Bryce Young, he might be cooked. This team, who was notoriously known as the worst team with the worst offense, just let Andy Dalton start a game and he threw up 319 yards and 3 touchdowns. First drive of the game took him right down the fucking field. Chuba Hubbard also had a good game, which leads me to believe that the Raiders just weren't trying because that's not possible. And welcome to Carolina, Deontay Johnson, who led the team with 8 receptions for 122 yards and a score. The other touchdowns actually coming from Chuba Hubbard and Adam Thielen through the air as well. Like, is this all it was? Was it really Bryce? He was the fucking issue? This is nuts. Looking at the Raiders now, Minshew, he didn't have his greatest day and ended up getting pulled at the end for Aiden O'Connell, who actually did find some success. Run game continues to be completely nothing. And receiving, even though they didn't look that bad, Devontae Adams had a look on his face on the sidelines that says, I might not be coming back here. Did the Raiders not get a sack all day? Oh, they got 1 combined one. That's it. You guys just weren't a match for the Red Rocket, huh? I can't say it's for everybody. Now moving on, we have the Rams beating the 49ers, and to people who sat down and watched this entire game, you gotta fill me in. Is this bad coaching? What the fuck happened? Every time this game came on Red Zone, I was like, oh, the 49ers are in winning position. This is over. And then they lost. And what's shittier about it is, again, look at Purdy. I got to see him all day lighting up Juwan Jennings. 292, 3 touchdowns. Juwan had 11 receptions, 175 yards. Every touchdown there. Run game wasn't bad either. Jordan Mason, 19 for 77. Purdy was productive with his legs. But then the defense just melted down? Or like, what the fuck happened? I know Jake Moody missed a kick earlier in the fourth quarter that he's probably going to be losing sleep over, but it's not all his fault. Also, look at the Rams. It doesn't look like they played their cleanest game at all. Matt Stafford, 16 for 25, 221, 1 touchdown, led by Tutu Atwell. Every touchdown in the offense actually came from Kyron Williams, 2 of them on the ground, 1 of them through the air. The Rams defense got 1 sack on the day from Byron Young. That's it. Yet they were able to walk out of this winners. Like, I'm baffled here. What the fuck? All right, now moving on, we have the Lions beating the Cardinals. A good game, but an underwhelming game. All the action happened in the first half. Got to see Jared Goff go 18 for 23, 199, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. David Montgomery had a good day on the ground where one of his carries, he was actually picked up and shoved through a pack of men. It was fucking hilarious. Receiving was led by Amon-Ra with 7 for 75 and a touchdown. Gibbs actually got a receiving touchdown without having a reception. It was a trick play with Amon-Ra. You should go watch it. It was really cool. And defense did their job neutralizing Arizona after the first drive, and Aiden Hutchinson Hutchinson again coming up with a sack, holding his place as the sack leader with 6.5 in the league. Looking at Arizona, Kyler Murray, 21 for 34, 207, a touchdown, a pick. Kyler also led the team in rushing because James Conner had a miserable day. In receiving, even though they didn't do that bad outside of Marvin Harrison Jr.'s, immediate touchdown, didn't ever really appear to find their footing. This is a win Detroit desperately needed to have, and I think they executed everything on their game plan outside of maybe limiting Kyler Murray even a little bit more to his rushing. Good bounce back, Lions. All right, moving on, we have the Ravens beating the Cowboys, and Baltimore, you guys are about 2 inches away from being the biggest laughingstock in the league. They almost blew a catastrophic fucking lead. This game sucked ass, and then all of a sudden, Dak Prescott rushes for a touchdown in the fourth quarter, hits Tolbert for a touchdown, and then in the final minutes hits Turpin for a touchdown, bringing the game within 3. Like, seriously, if it wasn't for the clutch legs of Lamar Jackson and the clutch hands of Zay Flowers, like, the Ravens would be clowns at this moment. Looking at Baltimore, Lamar 12 for 15, 182, 1 touchdown, very clean through the air, very clean on the ground as well, 14 for 87 in a score, but we can't ignore Derrick Henry, who also had 25 carries for 151 yards, averaging 6 yards a carry with 2 scores of his own. Receiving didn't do a whole lot. Rashad Bateman had the 1 touchdown, and defensively, they did their jobs all the way until the end of the game, like the final 8 minutes. Now, Dallas, if they didn't have that final quarter, this would be probably like the most laughable game they've ever had for how shitty they were. Obviously, Dak's stats all came there at the end, but run game, non-existent. Receiving was led by Jake Ferguson, who had 6 for 95, which is nice. Yet if it wasn't for Turpin and Tolbert, there wouldn't be a touchdown on the board, and defensively, they didn't get to Lamar Jackson one damn time. I mean, defensively, they didn't really make a damn play until the fourth quarter where Baltimore didn't score a single point. Like, if you're a Cowboy fan and you're trying to ride high on this because you made it close at the end, I really think that you have the wrong impression. This game is a lot closer to laughably fucking horrible than it is even remotely good. And ending, we have the Chiefs beating the Falcons, which my ass fell asleep at halftime for, unfortunately. I have a very bad habit of doing that during night games unless the Bills or the Vikings are playing, but it is what it is. The game started off reasonably entertaining, if you're asking me. Kirk Cousins, 20 for 29, 230, 1 touchdown, 1 pick, and his arm was batted. It was the most Kirk Cousins interception I've ever seen. Tyler Algier actually led the day in rushing with 32 yards, and Bijan Robinson, even though he got a rushing touchdown, his production this year, outside of last game, so 2 of the 3 weeks, been kind of ass. Receiving was led by Drake London, who had 6 for 67 in a score. Mooney found a way to be effective, having 8 for 66, and Kyle Pitts, even though he only had 2 catches on the day, still found a way to make it effective, having 60 yards out of it. Didn't really see much out of the Atlanta defense, though, outside of a nice play by Mike Hughes in the end zone and Justin Simmons' pick, though. That's really all I picked up. Glancing at the Chiefs now, Mahomes, 26 for 39, 217, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. Rushing was led by Carson Steele with 17 for 72. What I got to see, he actually looks like a pretty damn good running back. Kind of looked like Pacheco, honestly. Rashee Rice led receiving, 12 for 110 in a score. Juju also had a touchdown, and Travis Kelce continues to be probably the biggest disappointment of this season. Also, as you can tell, this is a game where kicking matters, as Harrison Butker kicking 3 for 3 and 10 points is largely what helped the Chiefs stay ahead. One final piece on Kelce, though, too, and this is just speculation from a lot of analysts I've been hearing, but they think his relationship is replacing football. Like, they're pointing out they don't see him on the field before games doing things that he used to do anymore. His effort isn't as high as it once was. They think his mind's in a different place, and it might be. Anyway, guys, that is going to do it for my Week 3 NFL reactions. If you guys like this video and want to show support, please do it because you guys know I appreciate any and all help. However, in the meantime, I'm going to get this edited so you guys can watch it on time. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your Monday. Go Bills! And as always, I will see you in the next upload.